porque no quiero morirme en un socavón, porque no quiero morirme en un socavón. Negra he sido, negra soy, negra vengo y negra voy, negra ayer, mañana y hoy, pero aunque mi amor me mate, esa mina no voy, porque no quiero morirme en un socavón, porque no quiero morirme en un socavón.
How does history get erased? One erases history by stripping people of the truth about who they are and where they come from. Men and women were taken from their lands and their riches stolen from them. For months they traveled on ships. Some would not make it. They arrived to Latin America. These were a people brutally tortured and used for economic gain in the name of development. They were enslaved and told they could no longer speak their languages or practice their religions. They were removed from the only homes they knew. Hundreds of years later, descendants would demand that these stories be excavated from the ruins, and thus began again the search for home. Afro-Latinos, the untaught story, is the recounting of a history that for too long has been left out of the historical text and narratives. There has been much study, research, and emphasis placed on the history of slavery in the United States.
La diáspora afro-latina tiene sí ciertas particularidades que lo hace un poco diferente a la diáspora del sur de los Estados Unidos.
Yet, the African diaspora in Latin America is rarely mentioned or included in the dialogue.
Desgraciadamente debo decir que en África no conocemos la historia de los afrolatinos.
Te podría decir que el 80% de la población no sabe que hay gente de influencia africana en México.
I think there's widespread ignorance as to whether African Americans know about this history. No, I frequently give presentations on this, and I find that this is the first time that they've heard about it.
Over 12 million enslaved Africans were forcibly brought to Latin America, and an estimated 500,000 were brought to the United States over the span of 400 years. Why then is the African diaspora in Latin America not taught in educational institutions from elementary school to the university level?
Hay momentos en la historia peruana en que la historia como discurso se teje, pero ahí no están los afros.
Por ejemplo, en las escuelas, la mención de los africanos comienza desde que llegan como esclavizados. Y esto es bien importante que lo aclaremos. Digo esclavizados, no esclavos, porque ellos no eran esclavos. Ellos eran seres humanos libres que fueron esclavizados.
Aún no hay dentro de lo que es la enseñanza oficial un interés que nosotros necesitamos que sea desde arriba, ¿no? Desde las autoridades principales de nuestro país, para que se difunda, que los niños negros, que las niñas negras sepan su historia.
Many children and adults in Latin America do not know anything about Africa, buying into stereotypes, oftentimes unaware that it is a continent.
Todavía dentro de esa concepción de mundo, el niño no te piensa que África es un continente. El niño te piensa África como un país.
África es un país que la gente aguanta mucha hambre.
¿Cómo me imagino África? Un país de muchas necesidades.
Es que no es que la han dejado afuera. Nunca fue parte de la historia. Ese es el asunto.
Afro-Latinos are the descendants of enslaved Africans who were brought by force and dispersed throughout Latin America. Today, there are more than 150 million Afro-Latinos in Latin America, of which 90 million live in Brazil. But does this mean that only people who are black can claim African roots?
Muchas personas confunden que el negro solo sea la piel. Puede haber un negro con los ojos claros. La piel negra es solo una característica de lo que es el hombre negro.
For Latin Americans, there is something prestigious and honorable about identifying with being descendants of Europeans. What has been taught is that the royal bloodline from Spain is worthy of respect, pride, and honor. The indigenous is seen as something mystical and exotic, while the African root has always been associated with slavery, poverty, and all things black.
The sound of racism. This political advert aired for 2 days on local radio stations. It's too racially offensive for us to broadcast it in full. But it describes members of this Ecuadorian black community as good-for-nothing people, cockroaches, and much more. Cockroaches, and much more.
Less than 5 years later, we're leaving people fleeing the same conflict to drown in the sea, while giving a woman space in a national newspaper to refer to them as cockroaches. While giving a woman space in a national newspaper to refer to them as cockroaches. And when you refer to humans as cockroaches, that is a mandate for murder. Let's be clear about that. The moment human beings become non-human, that is a mandate for murder, and there's a long historical parallel of that. The idea that white is right isn't just a European idea, it's an idea that has had insidious implications, because no matter what, the 700 people that were left to drown off the coast of the Mediterranean, were they white human beings, they wouldn't have been left to drown. They certainly wouldn't be called cockroaches.
An investigation is underway to determine who was behind the advert. It has since been taken off the air. Local candidates deny any responsibility, but the damage has been done.
I'm outraged. What they did isn't politics, it's racism.
Since blacks arrived in Ecuador from West Africa in the 16th century, they have done the hardest jobs. A government study in 2003 said that over 92% of blacks do not have access to basic services.
Queremos cambiar ese lema de que negro y malo es lo mismo, ¿sí? Que si ponen una bomba, noche negra en Bogotá, conciencia negra, futuro negro, trabajé como negro.
History books refer to Africans only as slaves. There is no mention that some Africans in their territories were kings and queens or men and women of great wisdom, nor does it mention that African kingdoms themselves participated in the slave trade, trading slaves from other kingdoms with European settlers. This story cannot be told without starting in Africa. Contrary to popular belief, Europeans did not enter into the depths of Africa to kidnap people and turn them into slaves. African kingdoms dominated the territories, enslaving small groups of people from other kingdoms. Kingdoms such as Ashanti, Dahomey, Oyo, Benin, and Congo were some of the most powerful. When trade with Europeans began, it benefited the African royals, and the elites grew more powerful. From this trade, an estimated 100 million Africans were taken from Africa and dispersed among every continent.
Salió lo mejor de África. África empezó muy mal. Empezó con una sangría humana.
The colonizers knew exactly which humans were of value and had their pick of the finest Africans.
Entre un promedio de 15 a 45 años, ese fue como el rango de edad de las personas que vinieron.
Por eso hoy se dice que África es el continente más pobre del mundo, pero es porque su fuerza de trabajo fue extraída. En la medida en que se les extrae su fuerza de trabajo, solamente queda la niñez y la tercera edad, es decir, los abuelos.
Los traficantes de esclavos no se aventuraban a elegir a un hombre flaco ni a una mujer enferma. Tenían que ser jóvenes y robustos. Por tanto, se extrajo de sus hogares a lo mejor del pueblo africano.
The population of enslaved Africans came from many ethnic groups. The Africans who arrived in what is now known as Latin America came mostly from Central and Western Africa. Ethnic groups like the Mandingo, Ashanti, Ewe, Fon, Mina, Nago, and Igbo were just a few of those brought over. Cuba was a gathering point for the Arara, Yoruba, Carabali, and Bakongo people. People from Carabali and Yoruba were also scattered throughout Latin America, though it was in Cuba that they came together and maintained their culture. Approximately 240,000 were Carabalis, 200,000 Araras, 400,000 Congolises, and 275,000 Yoruba people would be enslaved and brought to Cuba, causing the fall of the Oyo Empire in Africa.
Ocurre que una de las técnicas que utilizaban los conquistadores era nunca tener a los esclavizados de un mismo grupo étnico, sino tenerlos de diferentes lugares para que tuvieran diferentes lenguas y tuvieran dificultades en la comunicación y por lo tanto se les hicieran más difíciles las conspiraciones.
The plan failed. They rebelled. Enslaved Africans joined together and maintained their religious practices as a form of resistance. The Bantu ethnic group was one of the largest groups enslaved. The Bantu had many subgroups, such as the Bakongos and others that were brought from Mexico to Argentina. This heritage is preserved in the Bantu songs found in Argentina.
Un 65% de los traídos hacia Montevideo eran de origen bantú, es decir, Angola, Mozambique, Congos.
The Bantu influence is also seen in Haitian voodoo. The Palenquero language in Colombia also has its roots in Bantu.
Pane nubo viral lenguasuto. Maese tanase trecusa. Monacito de taquilande uriacuyo. Etan leuncusa de tradición suto.
In Panama, they play and dance to los congos.
Las tradiciones vienen de África y no solamente tenemos el baile congo, tenemos otros bailes, pero el congo sí nace aquí en Portobelo. Es el baile que habló y que hizo muchas cosas para poder defender la libertad en su momento y lograr lo que hoy día somos.
The Dominican Republic also has its congos.
Eso es africano. Eso es de cuando los esclavos.
In a span of 400 years, an estimated 7 million enslaved Africans were brought to South America. 5 million were taken to Brazil. Over 4 million arrived to the West Indies, and 300,000 slaves were shipped to Central America. African women contributed greatly to the history and culture of Latin America. One way to honor these women is through gastronomy. In almost all Latin American countries, there is a dish of African origin. Markets like this one in Cartagena, Colombia, offer many foods of African descent. The coconut rice and fried fish are common in Afro-Latino areas. During During the slavery era, African women cooked for their masters and prepared for them the best meats and fresh foods. The leftovers were used to feed themselves, the men, and the children.
Los patrones, pues, a los esclavos le decían como si come si quieres, ¿no? Y le daban la menudencia. Pero los negros esclavos, si había papa y el mondongo, los otros aderezos, de ahí sacaban el caucao y comían mejor que ellos.
A wonderful example is a traditional dish using the mixture of leftovers in a sancocho. From Puerto Rico to Venezuela, the sancocho, stew, is what brings people together to celebrate. This stew is an efficient way to feed many people, even today. After the abolition of slavery, some countries in Latin America had a second migration of black people. Countries such as Panama, Costa Rica, and Nicaragua share a similar story regarding their African descent. The people in these countries speak both Spanish and English and share West Indian cultures. The migration of black people from the Antilles to Central America brought with them workers to the Panama Canal.
Los afroantillanos fueron básicamente los trabajadores del ferrocarril y del canal francés y el canal norteamericano. Un 75% de la fuerza laboral en la construcción del canal eran los negros de las islas del Caribe, de Jamaica primeramente, de Barbados, Trinidad y de Saint Kitts y las otras islas. Cuando la compañía no cumple con los términos del contrato, esos obreros tuvieron que quedarse en Panamá.
The Panama Canal is an engineering wonder of the world, but most people do not know that it was the hands of West Indian people that built it and died building it.
Tenemos una cifra alrededor de 57,000 personas del Caribe, de las Antillas, que laboraron para esta octava maravilla. Muchas de estas personas decidieron implantarse aquí en Panamá, específicamente en la ciudad de Colón. Esas personas nosotros tenemos que agradecerles como panameños, y más por ser colonenses, porque ellos a nosotros nos dejaron lo que hoy nosotros llamamos como el patrón, la cultura, la danza, el vestuario, el idioma que ellos tenían, que eran como dialectos que tenían entre ellos, y también lo que fue la mezcla del Spanish con el inglés, que nosotros le decimos el Spanglish. Hay que agradecerle por su energía, su entusiasmo y sobre todo por tener ese hermoso color que hoy en día nos bendice a todos los latinos.
Another Latin American country where Afro-Caribbeans are found is Costa Rica.
Los afrocaribeños es otro momento de la historia de la diáspora africana. Son estas migraciones importantes que llegan a finales del siglo XIX y en el caso de Costa Rica llegan al cultivo del banano y a la construcción del ferrocarril.
Marcus Garvey was a philosopher who influenced the African people worldwide. He lived in Puerto Limón, Costa Rica, and worked as an accountant for a railroad company. Garvey's ideas have influenced the Rastafari movement to date. Today, there is a tour in Costa Rica on African heritage in Puerto Limón to help preserve the history of the West Indian migration and their contribution to Costa Rica.
Yo diría que el primer lugar que tienen que conocer si quieren conocer la cultura del afrocaribeño, el del limonense original, es Jamaica Town. Todavía puedes encontrar la casita original donde los domingos vamos a conseguir el coco para que sea rallado para utilizar en las comidas, en el rice and beans y todo. Está la First Baptist Church, la presencia impresionante de lo que es el ferrocarril. Entonces puedes ver que uno de los barrios que todavía con mucha razón, porque fue el primero, tiende a tener esa influencia afrocaribeña, afrodescendiente, es Jamaica Town.
Nicaragua has a similar history of West Indians migrating to the town of Bluefields. When the banana industry exploded, it opened its doors and offered labor opportunities for West Indian people.
Los afrodescendientes que están en la costa caribe nicaragüense, una área que se llamaba en un momento la Mosquitia. Vinieron los ingleses en 1600, establecieron aquí en la costa caribe. Los negros vinieron del Caribe, de Jamaica, de San Andrés, de Belice, no vinieron mujeres. La mayoría eran varones buscando cómo escapar, buscando trabajo, buscando espacio en la vida.
Honduras and Guatemala share the Garifuna culture, which has a distinct and unique history. Garifuna history begins in 1635, when a Spanish ship from Nigeria sinks near the island of San Vicente. These castaway Africans mix with the natives, called Caribs and Arawak. This was the birth of the Garifuna people, indigenous Africans who were free in desolate areas. Their chief, Joseph Chatoyer, and his wife Barauda were Garifuna leaders.
Joseph Chatoyer era el líder Garifuna de San Vicente. Él es la persona que lideró la lucha contra los ingleses. Supuestamente los franceses eran los que apoyaban a los Garifuna. Pero llegó un momento donde los franceses vendieron esa confianza a los ingleses. Y fue así como lograron expulsar a nuestros antepasados de allá. Él no fue un líder garífuna en Centroamérica, pero la lucha que hizo en la isla de San Vicente, en todas las comunidades garífunas se reconocen.
On February 20th, 1797, over 5,000 Garinagu exiled from San Vicente to escape English rule. Only half of them made it to the island of Roatán, today known as Honduras. From there, the Garifuna people settled along the coast of Honduras, all the way from the town of Trujillo to the village of Masca.
Nos vinieron a dejar en las costas nortes de Honduras, porque aquí no se podía vivir. Había muchas plagas y todas esas cosas, y los únicos que podían resistir eso eran los afrodescendientes. Desde entonces estamos aquí nosotros luchando.
The Garifuna people migrated to the countries of Belize, Costa Rica, and Nicaragua, and to the towns of Livingston and Puerto Barrios in Guatemala. Today, there are about 45 Garifuna villages in Central America.
I will speak about a population that has been, for the most part, forgotten, belittled, and denied in their own country. I'm speaking of the people who are today known as Afro-Argentines. They are Africans and African descendants who are either a part of recent African migration or descendants of slaves that were shipped to Argentina during the transatlantic slave trade. Argentina is a Spanish-speaking country of about 40 million inhabitants and is located in South America to the southwest of Brazil and Uruguay. Racially speaking, according to some estimates, Argentina is 97% white, which would make the country whiter than in ever-diversifying Western Europe. The vast majority of Argentines are of Spanish or Italian ancestry, and the country prides itself on being the quote-unquote whitest country in South America. Because of the country's Eurocentric view of itself, the story of Afro-Argentines has been all but erased from the country's history. Even before the abolition of slavery in 1853, Argentina set out to whiten its population through a number of methods. The first method was through mass European immigration.
Various intellectuals believed for Brazil to become a civilized country, it had to have a process of whitening. For this reason, the government invested a great deal in European immigration to the country.
Brazilian government paid for more than 4 million Europeans to migrate to Brazil. This was part of a process known as branqueamento, whitening. The government hoped that these new immigrants would outnumber the black people and breed with them, over time whitening the face of Brazil, both its gene pool and its culture.
The second was by sending Afro-Argentines to the front line of Argentina's 19th century wars for independence from Spain, as well as the Triple Alliance War, which pitted Argentina, Uruguay, and Brazil against Paraguay in the deadliest of all South American wars. Black Argentines were overrepresented in these wars, and some would even say they were purposely used as cannon fodder, which drastically reduced the number of Afro-Argentine men.
Miserere mei Deus, secondo magna misericordia tua, e secondo misericordia
With the reduction of black Argentine men, black Argentine women developed relationships and married the increasing numbers of European immigrants pouring into Argentina, further reducing the black population through generations of intermixture. A fourth factor in the reduction of the Afro-Argentine population was the Great Yellow Fever epidemic that struck Buenos Aires in 1871. By 1887, the black population of Buenos Aires had dwindled to less than 2%, and the Argentine census officially dropped its black category and replaced it with the more ambiguous term trigueño, which means wheat color. Although one would never know it now, at the beginning of the 19th century, black slaves made up 30% of Buenos Aires' population and 50% of the population of many other provinces. Afro-Argentines contributed heavily to Argentine history and culture.
The Dominican Republic, land of merengue and breathtaking beaches. Yet how many people know that English is the native language of some Dominicans? In the Dominican Republic, there were two different migrations of blacks, West Indians and African Americans. After the Haitian Revolution in 1804, the Haitian government welcomed African Americans to come to the island to help rebuild their country. With the desire to escape a racist United States, African Americans from Philadelphia and other U.S. coastal cities migrated to Haiti and the Dominican Republic.
The Afro-Americans came from, they all left out from Philadelphia. Primer grupo fue de Haití, después a Santo Domingo, luego el grupo de Samaná, y otro grupo se fue para Puerto Plata.
In 1824, Haitian President Jean-Pierre Boyer financed a trip of North American blacks that wanted to live and work in Haiti. In all, 6,000 people reached the island of Hispaniola, and the African American culture brought to the Dominican Republic still remain in the area of Samaná.
Muchos de los juegos, los jóvenes están dejando de escallecer porque teníamos muchos juegos que usaban los afroamericanos y lo usábamos aquí cuando hacíamos bazar, cuando hacíamos sociales en el patio de la iglesia, jugábamos mucho. Ellos trajeron el Johnny Cake, el Ginger Beer, el pan inglés y todas esas clases de cosas todavía se consigue y se usa.
When a person from Latin America looks in the mirror, what do they see? The African presence is easily recognizable in the carnivals, festivals, celebrations, and music of Latin America, yet it is much more complex. Latin Americans have a diverse and varied DNA. 500 years and over 15 generations have passed since the Spanish conquest. What is the identity of a Latin American?
Nosotros somos una mezcla de muchos encuentros de 50.000 años. Nadie puede pensar que es absolutamente puro. Todos somos una mezcla enorme de encuentros a través de los años.
Número uno, no somos europeos, ya no somos africanos, pero en esa nación que puede ser
la nación cubana, o puede ser la nación puertorriqueña, o puede ser la nación dominicana, o puede ser la nación haitiana. Hay una fuerte presencia africana.
La herencia africana está presente en nuestra cultura y debemos analizarla y hacerla parte de nuestra identidad como pueblo. No podemos vivir de espalda nuestra realidad. No podemos decir que somos blancos si no somos blancos.
Today, many people are still confused about how they should identify and what parts of themselves to include. There are many terms used to identify a person in Latin America. Most of these terms come from the caste system. The caste system came with the Spanish and was used to define and classify those with mixtures of African, indigenous, and Spanish blood. There are hundreds of variations in the caste system. There was a classification system implemented with a list of terms that varied by country. However, the most popular terms used were mestizo, indio, sambo, and mulato.
No usando la palabra mulataje por la cuestión de que viene de mula, es decir, que carga.
Dieron nombres de migrantes derogativos a las castas que consideraban inferiores.
Mi carne dice mestiza, por lo tanto yo soy mulato. La gente dice que las personas como yo así son jabá, son los que le dicen jabá, pero yo me considero mulata.
Tú eres morena. Es aceptable, pero si fuera nosotros como personas, tú eres una trigueña.
Cuando una persona externa se refiere a mí por prieta, por niche, por negrita, me parece que quizá tiene un cierto tipo de desconocimiento frente a lo que es ser afro, y si viene una persona afro o una persona negra me siento más ofendida porque es falta de conciencia.
One of the most controversial terms is the use of the word negro or negra. This term brings some positive and negative connotations.
Por ejemplo, cuando te dicen en la calle, ¡hey, negra! Ahí pienso que hay discriminación aunque no seamos conscientes. ¿Por qué? Porque todos tenemos un nombre. ¿Por qué no? ¡Hey, chica! ¡Hey, muchacha! ¡Hey!
But the issue of being black is deeper than just words. There are underlying truths and expectations that are spoken and unspoken about all things black in the Latino family.
Mi misma abuela, bisabuela le decían a mi mamá, a mis tías, en sus tiempos, ¿cierto? No se casen nunca con un negro, por ejemplo. Búsquense un blanco para mejorar la raza.
¿Tu mamá te ha dicho a ti que debes casarse con un hombre blanco?
Bueno, ella me dijo una vez, ¿sí?
¿Por qué?
Con los hijos, para que salieran bonitos.
These racist ideas have been passed from generation to generation, teaching children how to marry well, being accepted in the world by marrying someone with finer features or lighter skin, discouraging them from marrying a black woman or man.
A muchos de los hombres latinoamericanos, la mujer que le gusta socialmente se prefiere una blanca, para que lo represente socialmente y para refinar la familia. Ahí jugamos un poco con el desdoblamiento entre la moral social y la opción personal.
En general, cuando a un argentino medio, común y corriente se le pregunta o se le habla de los negros, lo primero que dice es: en la Argentina no hay negros. Además que el argentino, los argentinos estamos preparados para negar nuestra variedad cultural.
El negro tiene que saber bailar o tiene que saber limpiar.
El país, como país, no es racista, pero no podemos decir que no hay racismo.
Por lo pronto, desde mi punto de vista, todo el que en la Argentina o en el Uruguay o en muchos países de América Latina no es descendiente de europeo, es un injerto social.
Pero en general la gente cree que no hay negros en Argentina, y cuando se encuentran conmigo, con mis hermanos, con mis amigos negros, obviamente nacidos acá y con varias generaciones, creen que somos extranjeros, ¿no? La pregunta inicial es: ¿y vos de dónde sos? Descontando que uno vino de otro lado.